Hello friends, this is Adam with Movie Guide 365, and in this video, I'm going to go over some movies that bombed at the box office, but have pretty awesome 4K discs. When it comes to movies, especially those that go to the theater, box office is a big indicator of how successful it is. You have, let's just say, one of the best case scenarios, James Cameron's Avatar films, that do massive numbers at the box office. They have big budgets to go along with it, but they still are very successful. In fact, they break records. On the other end of the spectrum, there are movies with huge budgets that just don't do well at the box office, and some flat out bomb. So for this video, I'm going to go over 10 movies or so that I feel are really awesome on 4K, but they just happen to bomb at the box office. A movie's success during its theatrical run is not exactly dependent on the quality of the film. Sometimes it is. There are some movies on this list that are, in my opinion, not very good, but somebody else may really enjoy them. And there are also some movies that I feel are really held in high regard, but just didn't resonate with general audiences. But what they have in common are awesome 4K discs. All film is subjective, so you're going to have a fan for every movie. Every movie will have somebody that enjoys it. But if you enjoy it and you bring it home on 4K, you're going to get a pretty awesome experience. These titles are not in any particular order, so I'm just going to start off the top. And as always, I encourage you to put in the comment section below what box office bombs that you really enjoyed have awesome 4K discs. My first pick on this list came out fairly recently on the 4K format back in December of 2023. And ultimately, I felt it was a really well done 4K disc. The Creator. Now, the box office for this one was not the best, but also the budget was relatively kept under control compared to some big modern blockbusters. But, for whatever reason, audiences didn't love it. But if you are a fan of the film, the 4K, I feel, is a must own. Visually, this looks good. If I recall during my review, just a couple of personal preferences on how it looks on 4K. I felt it should have looked a little bit cleaner, but it definitely has a unique style visually. But what I was a huge fan of was the audio experience. This one had a lot of heft to it, good surround immersion, very well done audio track. Dolby Atmos was top tier on this one, very good. And I am a fan of the film. I enjoyed it a lot. And if you are at all curious about a unique sci-fi movie, pick up The Creator on 4K. It's well worth the investment. This next title definitely earned its fair share of criticism for the box office performance, but also a lot of it was aimed at director Ang Lee's choice to shoot in 60 frames per second, Gemini Man starring Will Smith. When you bring this disc at home, let's just say it is a little bit jarring watching a film in 60 frames per second. Basically, it's a soap opera effect. Everything is razor sharp clean, very lifelike, and it just looks odd to most viewers. But it is if you take all that aside, it is an immaculate looking picture. And the audio on this one is also pretty high up there. It's really done well. The Atmos is very immersive. There were some also criticisms about the story itself. I felt it was fine. It was an interesting sci-fi action thriller. But really, I think at the end of the day, it was the 60 frames per second that turned a lot of people off. But if you can get past all that, you're going to get a really solid 4K disc. I recommend it if you're a fan of the film. Check it out. I believe the digital version of the movie only uses 24 frames per second, so it has a more natural look as far as film goes. But the 4K disc, it's certainly one that if you're a fan, you'll enjoy it. This next one I was actually not really a fan of. I did a blind buy to review the 4K disc for the channel, and I just didn't particularly care for it. But once again, all film is subjective. Somebody out there probably loves it. But if you do love it and you bring home the 4K disc, you're getting an extremely good presentation. Visually, this looks gorgeous. This has a nice, clean-looking picture. The effects look great. A nice pop with HDR and Dolby Vision. But if you have a Dolby Atmos setup, this is probably one of the most unique overhead engagement audios out there. It is pretty cool. It's very fun. You have a lot of the some of the abilities or the voices that appear as thought bubbles above you really just kind of add a whole cool layer of immersion. This is a very good audio mix. Once again, not a big fan of the movie, but if you are, this 4K disc, especially if you're running an Atmos setup, is well worth the pickup. I am a big fan of disaster movies, whether it's natural disasters or alien invasions or something like that. And for my next pick, Battleship, while it definitely won't win any awards as far as the story goes, it has a good use of HDR. It's not too flashy, but it just brings out some good highlights. But once again, the audio is top tier. It runs a DTS:X audio mix. It sounds great. So whenever you get those, alien versus, ships combat situation, it's some good stuff. It really is very immersive. I enjoy this one. It's cool. It's one I like to demo to friends whenever they come over. But Battleship on 4K, unfortunately, did not do great at the box office, but I stand by the 4K disc. When you think of historical box office bombs, this next pick is certainly one of the most well-known. From director Paul Verhoeven, Showgirls. Now, what better label than Vinegar Syndrome to put this one out on 4K? And I gotta say, I was very impressed with what I saw. I love it when they take movies like this and give it a fresh coat of paint, bring it up to higher quality, displays. I think it looks fantastic. And of course, with Vinegar Syndrome, you're getting a well-done packaging, and there's some really notable extras. The audio is just a simple 5.1 as well as the 2.0 track. But really, if you are a fan of this cult classic, Showgirls on 4K from Vinegar Syndrome is something you must own. Now, this next pick I just watched for the first time recently. I got it very cheap as a blind buy. And I gotta say, I sort of understand why it didn't do well at the box office, but I thought it was a unique sci-fi film. I'm talking about the Wachowskis' Jupiter Ascending. It's an interesting movie. It's very sci-fi-ish, but it's kind of out there. But I think the 4K disc is pretty outstanding. This looks beautiful. It's good, flashy sci-fi stuff, but the Dolby Atmos on this disc, it's pretty intense. It's a lot of fun. It's very enjoyable. It's immersive. I feel that more people should give this one a chance. The Wachowskis did the Matrix films, and this movie, I feel, definitely is one that is underrated. That's a personal opinion. You may or may not agree. But the 4K disc, if you choose to go that route, it's pretty cool. So yes, Jupiter Ascending is on this list. Sometimes when it comes to a director, they're given smaller budgets for their first couple of movies and then given something a little bit larger and more grand, and it just sometimes doesn't pan out at the box office. So for director Damien Chazelle, his film Babylon, while it didn't do well at the box office, I feel if you own the 4K, you're getting some top tier stuff. I love movies about old Hollywood, and the aesthetic on this film looks really good with HDR and Dolby Vision. I think it's a beautiful looking picture. And the sound design is also very surprising how immersive it is. This is a movie about old Hollywood, going from the silent film era to more or less talkies, as they called them back then. But really, the audio on this is very surprisingly immersive. It's pretty cool. If you have an Atmos setup, I think you're getting a lot to enjoy here audibly. But the whole package, I feel, is done well on 4K. Another underrated movie, in my opinion. But Babylon, check it out on 4K if you're at all curious. And of course, I couldn't put together a list such as this one without putting one of the biggest all-time box office bombs on it, Waterworld, starring Kevin Costner. It makes for a really good 4K. There's two different versions of the 4K out there, one directly from Universal, which supports a DTS:X audio, and the Arrow Video version, which supports Dolby Atmos. But visually, they both look great on 4K, and whichever audio you prefer, you're getting a really solid experience. I feel the movie has garnered a lot of fans over the course of the years since its initial release, and a newfound appreciation. I watch this one every few years. I always enjoy it. It's really good. And with the 4K, I think it really represents the movie well. A nice cinematic visual experience, and of course the audio is really done well. So Waterworld, for fans of it, you have two choices of the 4K, and it's worth picking up in my opinion. This next one came out about a year or so ago, and it was certainly a box office flop, but I actually enjoyed it for what it was. And if you enjoyed it like I did, the 4K disc is the way to go. 65, starring Adam Driver. Basically, the plot is a man crash lands to Earth and has to get from point A to point B while encountering dinosaurs. Very simple, not too much weight to it. But if you're a fan of it like I am, you're going to really enjoy the 4K disc. This picture looks really good. It's pretty dark at times, but I feel the black levels are handled well with that HDR and Dolby Vision. Sony does normally a really good job with their picture quality. And the audio, dinosaurs, there definitely could have been more of them in the film, but whenever they are on screen, it's going to give your home theater a workout. There's a nice immersive just quality to the audio track here. I enjoyed the movie. Did not do well at the box office, but the 4K is certainly the way to go. And for the last movie on my list, that while it was a box office bomb, produced a really good looking and sounding 4K disc, Blade Runner 2049 is definitely one that you should check out. I will stand by this movie day and night because this was one of my favorite movies of that year, and the 4K disc is top tier. I loved it. I think the picture is excellent. It looks beautiful, very cinematic, and the Dolby Atmos is probably one of the most heavy-handed on this list. It's pretty aggressive, very immersive. This is a movie that I just love going back to constantly. I enjoy it immensely, and the 4K, the best possible way to watch the film, no doubt about it, and it should absolutely be seen on the format. So those were 10 movies that, while they bombed at the box office, when they came to 4K, were pretty awesome. I honestly could have put a lot more on this list, but that's where you guys come in. Let me know in the comments which box office disappointments, flops, bombs, whatever you want to call them, did you really enjoy when they came to 4K? Sound off down below. And if by any chance you're interested in picking up any of the titles I talked about in this video, I will leave direct Amazon links in the comment section. And if you use them, they really help out the channel. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So until next time, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. I will see you at the movies.